Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakudash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us His truth, and that's still teaching His truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with 144,000 all the way down to the large multitude that believes, and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson. And I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And this is a prime example, all right, of what it means, of what superfluous means. And you hear the apostles mention this word a lot of times when it comes down to gimmicks, when it comes down to superfluity of naughtiness, which we'll get that scripture here in a minute. But you have this video that's circulating around in the chats of the Isupk supposedly doing military training and things of that nature, which the scripture says you're supposed to be harmless, wise as serpents and harmless as doves. You see, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai didn't call for the mighty. If that was the case, then Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai would have chosen, Navy SEALs and things of that nature to be in this ministry. If that's how the Lord wanted us to, if that's how the Lord wanted to do it. See what I'm saying? But this right here, what you're about to see on the screen, is nothing more than just being extra. Okay, and Isupk can use, particular videos like this to create an accusation that we're attempting to try to take down the government carnally, or we're attempting to make any kind of carnal stance or carnal move, when that's definitely not, what we're doing, especially here at Great Millstone. The scripture says that the weapons of our warfare, and I'm quoting the scriptures right now because I'm driving. I want to try to refrain as much from reading as I can, but I'm just quoting the scriptures. The scripture says that the weapons of our warfare. As a matter of fact, I'm at a red light right now, so let me go ahead and get it real quick. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. All right, let's start at verse 3. It says, For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. You see, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. You see, and it's really through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, all right, to knock down these strongholds. And, one of the strongholds that's up is, the main stronghold, I'd rather say, is the lies and all the different things that Esau Edom has set up to keep our people, in mental captivity. Of course, we're in physical captivity now, but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai doesn't have it to whereas we got to physically fight our way out of it. Okay, just want to get this word weapons real quick. All right, this word weapons here in the scripture in the Greek is pronounced hoplon. All right, hoplon or hoplon.
Strong's G 3696. Hoplon.
All right, so that word is pronounced hoplon, and I hope it's not an echo. You know what I'm saying? I hope it's not an echo, because it's been an echo on my videos lately. I turned the volume down a little bit to see if that would help out, but we'll see. But that word is hoplon. All right, and when you get that definition here, it says any tool or implement for preparing a thing. Any tool or implement for preparing a thing. It says plural, arms used in warfare are weapons. Okay, so the weapon of our warfare are not carnal. It just says, Yahweh Shai told Peter to put his sword back into his sheath. For lack of better words, he that liveth by the sword gonna die by the sword. Which is why, we don't promote guns at camp and, having weapons at camp and things of that nature. Now, if you have a gun or whatever, a sword, whatever, you have those different weapons and they're in your home at your own time or whatever the case may be, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? But we don't promote that as a form or a means of salvation. Because at any given moment, your gun could jam or whatever. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it just it negates, the saving power of Yahweh Shai when you try to rely on something carnal. Okay? So let's just read this one more time. All right? 2 Corinthians 10:4. It says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds." Now, are you wicked for training, or are you wicked for, learning a martial art or jujitsu or boxing or whatever the case may be, or learning how to use particular weapons? No, you're not. And if that's what you want to do on your own time, that's just what you do on your own time. But, going out, in the middle of a park and getting pepper sprayed, and like you in like the police academy, or if you in basic training for the military, that's, and then recording it and putting it on YouTube, that's like, what are you doing for yourself? You're just making yourself a prime target at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and play this real quick. Like I said, forgive me if it's an echo. Lord willing, this fixes the whole echo problem I've been having. But let's play this video. It's only 37 seconds long, so we'll play it real quick. Jumping jacks, jumping jacks.
Open your eyes up.
Attack, attack, strike to miss. Attack. There you go. Open your eyes. You gotta open your eyes, brother. There you go. There you go. Strike to miss. There you go. Body shot, body shot, body shot, body shot, body shot. Hook. There you go.
Water here, water here, water here, water here. Where to go? Open your eyes, brother. Shut up, I can't breathe. Look to the right. Hold on, your nose.
Yep. And they're like, what the hell is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, where in the scriptures does it say for us to do superfluous things like that? Now, the scriptures does tell you to pretty much avoid the superfluity of naughtiness, and that's all. This is all just superfluous activity. All right, when you get the word superfluous in the Edemont Online Dictionary, all right, that word superfluous, which is an adjective, it says that. Excuse me. It says that exceeds what is necessary or normal. See, this is completely. This right here is completely. This was completely unnecessary. It's not normal for the edification. It's not normal for the edification of the ministry, and first and foremost for the glorification of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. This isn't edifying the flock in no way, shape, or form. Just because you got pepper sprayed and you punching the mitts, you punching the mitts and you can't see. Will that save you in a time of trouble? If you actually pepper sprayed and Esau comes down, is that going to save you? Or is Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai going to save you from that? Because Esau got something way worse than pepper spray. Let me just put it out there like that. You think that pepper spray is you think that pepper spray is the most of your worries, and shit, you got another thing coming, Jack. Okay, remember, this is going to be a time that the world has never seen. And you punching your way out of it is not going to save you. You getting pepper sprayed and swinging. Remember, he says swinging a miss. He's like punch a miss, punch a miss, punch a miss, which means that when you punching a miss, that just means that you're just swinging. And it makes me think of the scripture that the Apostle Paul said. He says, pretty much you run this, you run this race with patience. All right, let me actually get it real quick. There's one beating the air. That's exactly what he was telling the guy to do. Just beat the air, beat the air, beat the air. Yeah, that's spiritual, man. Because the Isupk, spiritually be beating the air. One that beateth the air. All right, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 25. Let's start at verse 25. The point is at 26. It says, "And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things." And temperate means having self-control, right? Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, meaning that these particular fighters and sports figures like LeBron James, Floyd Mayweather, the Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, all these high-level sports figures, what do they got to do? They have to pretty much refrain from eating particular things, drinking particular things, doing particular things, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, shooting, working out, doing these particular things to obtain a corruptible crown, which would be, a trophy, a ring, whatever the case may be, right? It says, now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible crown, right? And an incorruptible crown that we're striving for, all right, is the crown that Yahweh Shai literally is going to place on our heads, and ultimately, really, immortality. We're striving to make it on the first go around. You see, verse 26. It says, Verse 26 says, I therefore so run, not as uncertainly. It's like you running in a race. You know, you lining up on a track meet and you running in a race. And you running all out your lane. You know what I'm saying? You over here running, you in lane 3, and you know, you start sprinting, then you run off in the rain, you run off into lane 8. Like, what the hell are you doing? It says, I therefore so run, not as uncertainly. So fight I, not as one that beateth the air. And that's spiritual, man. Because even when it comes down to the when it comes down to the Isupk's doctrine, you know, they're as those that beat the air. You know, just out here just saying the most wildest shit, just swinging for the fences. Let's hear that again. Now that's spiritual. Let's hear it again.
Jumping jack.
Now, mind you, he's gonna say swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss, and miss. We'll get the definition of a miss.
Open your eyes.
Attack, strike the miss. Attack. There you go. Open your eyes. You gotta open your eyes, brother. There you go. Strike the miss. There you go. Body shot. Hook. There you go.
You heard that? He said strike a miss, strike a miss, strike a miss. And that's one that's beat at the air. So even though he was carnally swinging at the mitts and carnally getting pepper sprayed and all this bullshit, you know, hey, we dissect the spiritual things that are being that are done, you know, within these videos that we see. You see? Now, I was gonna continue with that word superfluous. It says that exceeds what is necessary or normal. Early 15th century, from Latin superfluous, unnecessary, right? Unnecessary, once again, literally overflowing, running over. From superfluere, to overflow. From super, meaning over, fluere, to flow over. So it literally, superfluous means to flow over. You see? Pretty much you're doing too much. And the scriptures talk about that. It talks about, all right, the superfluity of naughtiness. Fluidity of naughtiness. Okay, I didn't spell it wrong. All right, this is James chapter 1, verse 21. And once again, you know, these are just nothing more. This is just nothing more than just gimmicks. You see? Just outward gimmicks that have nothing to do with furthering the ministry of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Where did Yahushai say for us to do this? You know, once again, you're not wicked if you train. You're not wicked if you box or if you practice martial arts or things of that nature. Obviously not. You know, we're Israelites. You know, that every man should know some sort of martial art. I believe that. But to put it out there in the forefront, you know, as this is what you need to do, this is what you need to be doing in order to attain salvation. If you're in a situation, if you get pepper sprayed or whatever the case may be, once again, that's not going to get you out of Jacob's trouble. You see, that's not going to get you out of Jacob's trouble. Swinging a miss, right? James 1:21, it says, wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness. You see that? There's that word superfluity. And all superfluity of naughtiness, it says, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. You see, that's what's going to be able to save your souls is receiving the word, man. Okay, not getting pepper sprayed, not getting beat with billy clubs. All right, get up, dude, cover your head and get up. You know what I'm saying? All this madness. You know, gotta do 10 jumping jacks. You getting sprayed in the eyes and then doing 10 jumping jacks like this is some goddamn Navy, you know, military training. You see? That's doing too much, man. The Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua didn't call for us to do this. See? He didn't call for us to do this. You know, stand in parade rest. Right? This whole black, you know what I'm saying? This whole black culture, you know, this whole black culture madness and BS, man. What's that scripture? Not Acts. I think it's Amos 2. Right, this is Amos chapter 2, verse 14. It says, therefore the flight, excuse me, it says, therefore the flight shall perish from the swift, and the strong shall not strengthen his force, neither shall the mighty deliver himself. See that? The mighty's not going to be able to deliver themselves in the time of trouble. It doesn't matter how good you're able to fight. It doesn't matter how much pepper spray you can take into the eyes. You know, that's not going to, that doesn't determine your salvation. This doesn't determine salvation. This is just doing too damn much. This will go down in Isupk history. You know? All black, you know, it just don't look right, man. It's a gimmick. This isn't what Yahweh Basham Shah called us to do. This madness. You know? So I just want to do a quick lesson on this. You know, once again, I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of Yahweh Basham Shah. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Chakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that's so teaching this truth. And as always, I want to give much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, Lord willing, we say shalom.